Hello, this is Kerslake, and today I want to talk a little bit about ways to combat emotional eating without using willpower. And the first thing I would have to say is that many of us these days, in this current day and age, are disconnected from our emotions and how we feel them in our bodies. So we feel most of our emotions in our head. We get into a story about them. And we're also encouraged to keep a stiff upper lip and not to bury those emotions, if you like, to deny them. And popular phrases might be, suck it up princess would be one that I've heard recently. And while there's certainly a place for denying emotions and keeping them boxed away, particularly in times of very severe stress, most of the time this doesn't serve us. So the first thing I would have to say is to touch base with your emotions in your body. Now, often in our body, we feel our emotions along the centre line of our body. So our throat, our chest, our heart space, our belly. And this is reflected in our language too. A heartache, we might say, or kicked in the guts. That type of expression. And so the first thing I would say to combat emotional eating is just to connect with that emotion. Where in your body are you feeling it? And when I was very much taught this technique initially, I thought, well, what's the good of that? We need to fix this and solve this. And in fact, just that beautiful connection helps that emotion to process quite beautifully and naturally. The other thing is getting out in things like out in nature and movement are two really lovely things that we can do to lower that stress response, particularly around our emotions, and help us to process them much more. Otherwise, we have a tendency of staying stuck in our story or burying our emotions with things such as food or alcohol or being really busy or, being, binge watching Netflix, for instance. So we just need to be aware, okay, am I avoiding any emotions here? And of course, with emotional eating, sometimes that can be a really habitual response because our bodies, our subconscious just wants us to feel better. And we know that even for a little while, that chocolate is, for many of us, is going to make us feel better. So the second thing I would say is a really useful question to ask us and to check in is, what do I need? What do I really need? And often it isn't that chocolate, often it isn't that cake or that whatever your go-to comfort food is. It can be as simple as, when I've asked it, sit down with a cup of tea. Perhaps it can be a nap. Perhaps it can just be some me time. And, sometimes 5 minutes is all that it takes. So that's a really powerful question. What do I really need? And of course, EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique, or tapping, is super effective, not just for reducing those cravings, but for reducing the stress and that we're feeling around that emotion. And so we would, tap on the anger and bring in what you're feeling in your body to that as well. This feeling I've got in my belly, this anger I'm feeling. My throat is tight. Even though my throat is tight, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. So there you have it, a few things that are really helpful in combating emotional eating rather than willpower. The first is to connect into our body where we're feeling that emotion. And that's a skill that we can learn. Just takes practice, but you'll find you'll pick it up pretty easily. The second is to do things such as get out in nature, and movement can be really useful. The third thing is to ask ourselves that beautiful question, what is it I really need? And the fourth thing, of course, is tapping or EFT, which I know that you've heard me talk about before. If you have any questions, do pop them in the comments. And yes, I'll talk soon. Bye for now.